Tov, today's Daf Yomi is Sanhedrin Daf Beis. As we do our Scholar Masech of Sanhedrin, we dedicate the whole Masech to all of our learning for a Shmir for the Chayalim, Atzal for the Shvuyim, and Yeshua for Am Yisrael. In this Eis Tzara, we start by saying why are we talking about how many people have to make up a court? And that's because we just finished about all those discussions about what the law is. We need people to apply it. So therefore we go into Masechet Sanhedrin. So Dine Mamanos Bishlosha. The Gemara tells us, the Mishnah tells us that monetary cases are adjudicated in front of a court of three. Gezelos v'chavolos Bishlosha. Gezelos v'chavolos, these are, Gezelos is robbery. If you, Rashi says, if you misuse somebody's deposit, or else if you just grab something from the hand of your friend. These are two examples of robbery. Chavolos are damages. For Rahman al you strike your friend, and you have to pay the five things that are mentioned in Bava Kama Daf Pei Dalet. Nezek Tzaripoi Sheves Poshes. And also, that's also in front of Bishlosha. Nezek Chatzi Nezek Tashome Kefal Tashome Arbel Chamisha. If your ox damages, or if it's a short mood, it's full damages. Chatzi Nezek if it's a tam. Tashome Kefal, if you steal, it's double. You have to, if there's Geneva, you have to pay double. And Tashome Arbel Chamisha, if you steal an ox or a sheep, then we're going to say, and then you slaughter or sell it, it's 4 or 5 times the amount. 4 times for a sheep, 5 times for an ox. So now, those are also in front of 3. Ha'ones v'mafatev ha'motzi shemer b'shlosh divrei meir. Ha'ones is a woman who's Rahman al assaulted. Mafate is she seduced. Motzi shemer is a groom libels his bride and says she's not a virgin. This you need a court of 3. Divrei Rabbi Meir. Kamim Omer motzi shemer be'esrim b'shlosha v'nei sheish bo dinei nefashos. A motzi shemer, a libel, in front of a court of 23. Because it could be a capital case. If she was adulterous, then she is stoned. And so therefore, it should be in front of a court of 23. Malchus b'shlosh lashes are in front of a court of 3. Mishum b'shmol amar be'ezrim shlosh. He says it's 23. Where is going to learn at all of these cases? Ibor achodesh b'shlosh ibor hashana b'shlosh divrei meir. Making a new month for chodesh, or making an additional month, a leap year. Those are in front of 3, according to Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel says, we start with 3, and we discuss it with 5, Gomer B'Shiva, and we conclude it with 7. Excuse me, Gomer B'Gimel Mu'baris, and if you complete it with 3, it's still going to be considered a leap year. Smichas Zakenim, Marifas Egla B'Shlosha. Smichas Zakenim means, according to Rashi, and elders would, when Smichas Zakenim Marifas Egla, when the elders place their hands on the animal in order to determine if he is for Parom Davar Shal Tzibor, that's called Smichas Zakenim. Rambam says, no, this is when you give the ordination to the rabbis to become the judges. Smichas Zakenim, Arifas Egel, this is the breaking of the Arifas Egel is the breaking of the heifer. This is in front of 3. B'Shosha, Divrei Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Yehuda says B'Chamisha. Rabbi Yehuda says in front of 5. Achalitza v'ayminun. Achalitza is when the brother does not want to marry his brother's widow, so she removes his shoe and spits on the ground. And miyunin is when a girl refuses to rejects the marriage. She was married off by a minor girl, by her brother and her mother. That's in front of 3. These are produce you bring to Jerusalem to eat, but you don't want to bring the produce. You want to redeem it. That's in front of 3. If you do, and you need a court of 3 to evaluate it. If you consecrate something, then it's in front of 3. We're going to have to see what that is. Rabbi Yehuda Omer Echamam Kohen. One of them has to be a Kohen. Makarko is Tisha a Kohen, and the real estate is 9 and a Kohen. Va'adam Kayotzaban, and a man is similar. Gemara is going to have to discuss how is a man consecrated. Dinin Nefashos B'Esrim V'Shlosha. A capital case is 23. Aroveh V'Anir B'Esrim V'Shlosha. If an animal is sodomized or it sodomizes, that's also in front of a court of 23. before you kill the animal, as it states, "Varakta esaisha v'esa behema." You kill the woman and the animal. V'omer v'esa behema tarogo. So sure, in this call, if an ox kills someone, Rahman al it's in front of 23. Shnemer Ashuri Sakel Vagam Vav Yumas. The ox was stoned, and also its owner was put to death. Kamisa Spalam Kach Misa Sashor. Like the owner dies, also the ox dies. Azev Va'ari Va'adov Va'namar Va'bardos Va'nachash Misasa Matzah Mishosha. The wolf, the lion, the bear, the leopard, the hyena, the snake, they are killed in front of a court of 23. And Eliezer says, "Call Kodem," meaning if they kill somebody. Rabbi Eliezer says, "Call Kodem Hargan Zachar." Rabbi Eliezer says, "Whoever comes first to kill them is doing a meritorious act." Rabbi Kiva says, "Misasam Eser Mishlosh." Rabbi Kiva, and we'll have to see what's the difference between Rabbi Kiva and Tanakama. He says that their death is in front of the court of 23. Ein Danan Lo as Hashevet, Lo as Navi Sheker, Lo as Kohen Gadol, El Pi Bezin Shashem V'Echad. We adjudicate a tribe if most of the tribes worshipped idolatry or a false prophet or the high priest. That's they have to go to a court of 71. We only go out to a discretionary war. There's a court of 71. Since Sanhedrin, they would make minor. They would make each tribe would have their own Sanhedrin. A smaller Sanhedrin of 23, but that would be appointed by the court of the Bezdin Shoshav V'Echad. Enos in Ir Anidachas is the city that worships idolatry. It's put to death. Help Bezdin Shoshav V'Echad. That's the court of 71. Enos in Ir Anidachas Basafar. Shalosh. You don't make the Ir Anidachas on the border, and you also. And the Gemara is going to explain that, and also you don't make 3, but you can do 1 or 2. We'll see what that means in the Gemara. Sanhedrin Gedolah. I said the high court had 71. The smaller Sanhedrin had 23. I don't know that the high court had 71. It says, as for Israel, Moshe Gabain. It says, gather for me 70 men from the elders of Israel, and Moshe was on top of them. Rabbi Yehuda says, Shivim. Rabbi Yehuda says, 70. How do we know that the small court is 23? Because it says V'shavtu ha'eda v'itzilu ha'eda, that the court will save, judge, and the court will save. Eda shafetis v'eda matzelis. One part of the court is judging, the other part is saving. Harei kan esrim, because Eda means 10. So therefore we have 20. Minayo Eda shehi esrim, shehi asara. How do we know that a congregation Eda is 10? As it says Amasai la'eda harazos. How much longer for this Eda harazos? Yatsu Yoshua v'kolev. This comes to exclude Joshua and Kohath. Uminayan Ravi Ochlo. How do we know that there's another additional 3? Because it says, don't follow majority for bad. So I know that you follow majority for good. So why is there another passage that says follow the majority? To tell us that the majority is different if it's to acquit or to convict. When you want to acquit, it's on the majority of 1. To convict, it's the majority of 2. Aim bez and chuckle on top of bez and bez, and you can't have an equal court. So therefore, mosifin and odechad. So therefore, you add on an additional judge to get to 23. And Rashi says the Gemara is going to ask, well, since you can't have an even court, then you need 23. Then therefore, we'll never have Hati al Ra Pishnaim. We'll never have a majority of 2 to convict you. It has to be a majority of 3. So it's a question on the Gemara. The Kami Yebayir V'Te'eruyo Sanhedrin. So how much will be in the? It's a question on the mission. How many will be in the city and it'll be worthy to have a Sanhedrin? May have answered 120. Chamia says Masayim L'Shloshim, 230. Keneged Sarai Asaro, corresponding to. Each judge has to be in charge of 10, a minimum, so therefore you get to 230. How do you get to 120? Gemara Daf Yud Zayin is going to discuss it. The Gemara says, I don't understand, says the Gemara. It says Dine Mamonos are 3, but Gzelos Chavolos are 3. But Gzelos Chavolos are also a form of Dine Mamonos. They're robbery and damages. That's a form of monetary law. So why does it have to say monetary law is 3 and then Gzelos and Chavolos are 3? So Amar Rabbi Avo, Ma'in Katani. Our Mishnah is saying, what are the Dine Mamonos? Ma'in Dine Mamonos. What are the Dine Mamonos? Gezelos v'chavos. The dine mamnos are gezelos chavos. Hodos valvos, but hodos valvos, that is not going to be considered low. That's not going to be considered dine mamnos. Meaning to say, the hodos and avos, what are the hodos avos? Hodos is admissions and avos are loans. So both of them refer to lending, but hodos is where he comes to the court with, and there are witnesses of an admission. And he brings witnesses and say, this person admitted to owing this money in front of us. And a loan is where he comes to the court with witnesses to the loan. And this other person denies both of them. And so therefore, that's judged in front of a court of three also, but it's not included in our Mishnah's category of dine mamros. We'll see what the distinction is in a moment. Rashi gives a second explanation, which he does not favor. He says hodos is a partial admission, and avos is shekofer akol, that you deny everything. Rashi does not accept this approach, because since both of them are referring to loans, Rashi says it should have said odos v'kfiros, not odos v'havos. So anyway, we go on, but the Gemara says tzricha. We needed to say tzricha, and we need the Mishnah to write dine mamonos and also to write gzelos v'chavos. Why? Why? Says the Gemara, Ditan dine mamonos. If it just said monetary was havamin afilu odos v'havos, I would have said it also includes admissions and loans. And therefore, taning gzelos v'chavos. Therefore, it says gzelos v'chavos. And taning gzelos v'chavos, lo kataning dine mamonos. If it wrote gzelos v'chavos and not dine mamonos, havaminu hu adin afilu odos v'havos. I would have said it's also the case of includes odos and avos, and the reason why it says zeos chavos, I think it's turning zeos chavos mishum to ikar gimel b'ksivi b'zeos chavos ksivi, because the main passage in the Torah that is referencing that you require three is by zeos and chavos, because it says v'nikra ba'abayis el Elohim. It says if a person is damaged, if somebody is robbed, he'll come to the basically, basically, if somebody's a shomer, he's watching something and something is stolen, and he comes to the court and says he didn't misuse the deposit. Anyway, we see from here, therefore it says gzeos chavos, and chavalos, that's gzeos, and chavos malach chaval begufo, malach chaval b'mamono, and chavalos is damages because it's basically damaging the body or damaging the money. So therefore, since the main concept of requiring three judges is by gzeos chavos, therefore it mentions it. And we might have said that therefore it even includes hodos v'avos. So we see from here it doesn't. So therefore, tana ma'in dine mamonos gzeos chavos, hodos v'avos lo. So when it says what are dine mamonos, it's gzeos chavos, but not hodos and avos. And the Gemara says, and for why do we need to know this halacha that hodos and avos are not included in the dine mamonos? If you want to say it's to say that we don't require three judges for hodos and avos, Avos says explicitly, if two people judge a case of dine mamonos, it's not a valid judgment. So it's to tell us that we don't require mumchen. We don't require experts for hodos avos. For gzeos chavos, you need to be experts. Mumchen, Rashi says, what are mumchen? Muchen, that they have some sort of ordination. They got permission from the Nasi to adjudicate the matter, as we're going to say on Dafe. So for hodos avos, we don't need that, but for gzeos avos, we need it. So the Gemara says, my kasavar. So what is the Tana of our Mishnah that says we're excluding hodos avos? What's his logic? Ikasavar erev parashos kosav kan. So what does the erev parashos mean? That a passage that's written, a verse that's written in one part of the Torah can say it's not necessary for that part of the Torah. It can be applied to elsewhere. So if you were going to say that since it's talking about the need for three judges, where it says v'nikra by Elohim by shomrim by gzeos chavos, and we say it also applies to loans and admissions Well, if that's the case, we should also require experts, just like we require experts by Gzeos Chavos, we should require mumchim by Hodos Avos, because Savar Einar Parsha is Kasav Kan. If you say no, we don't apply that. We don't take the three judges by Gzeos Chavos and apply it also to Hodos Avos. So if that's the case, then why do you need three judges at all? What's our source for Hodos Avos needing three? So therefore, the Gemara says, we say we do apply the passage. Certainly in one place we apply it across the board. And really we should require experts. The reason why we're not requiring experts to be the judges over the Gzeos HaChavos, the Mumchen, Mishum, what's the reason? Hold on one second. I just want to check one thing. Yeah, so I mentioned Mumchen. Rashi says that they get the ordination from the Nasi, but the Rambam says that they were ordained one person from another person all the way back to Moses, and we call them Rebbe. So if that's the case, so really we should require Mumchen by Hodos Avos. What's the reason why we don't require Mumchen? Mishum Rabbi Chanina, Adam Rabbi Chanina, Devar Torah, Chadin Mamlas, Chadin Fashus, Bedrisha V'Chakira. That really, technically speaking, it says Rabbi Chanina, biblically speaking, both the capital cases and the monetary cases should also require Drisha Chakira. What's Drisha? That you ask them in the court how it happened, and Chakira is you really cross-examine them. What day and what time, meaning to say that you go do a thorough cross-examination. As it says, Mishpat Echad Yalachem. It says one judgment should be for both of them. What's the reason why they say what's the reason why we say that monetary cases do not require Drisha and Chakira? That because we don't want to close the door before the borrowers, because people will stop lending if we're going to require Drisha Chakira by loans. It'll be too hard to collect it, and so too we're going to say, says Rabbi Chanina, we don't have to find specifically also a court of mumchin for loans and admissions, because we don't want the person to say, I'm not going to loan because maybe we're not going to find experts that'll obligate him to pay. And so therefore, for this reason, the rabbis instituted by monetary cases that we don't require experts because of the power of Hefker Bezdin Hefker. The court has the authority. The whole question, well, since in Babylon they weren't mumchin, how we know that they did Gzeos HaChavos in Babylon? There's a couple of answers. One answer that Tosfos gives is that we'd have to say that in Babylon, we're talking about a case where the person who was robbed grabbed back the money of the robber, or they established a time that they should go to the land of Israel. And under these circumstances, we could also do it in Babylon. Also, it's possible it could be referring to gzelos that come as a result of chavelos, that those are not common so much. But other gzelos of chavelos, even non-mumchan can do it. The Rosh says that really, technically speaking, you need experts. But in Babylon, we were the agents of the experts in all these matters. So Okay, that's today's daf yomi. We'll stop here. A big shkoyach. Shkoyach.